All right, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today's Daf Lamed Ches, and we start from Daf Lamed Zayin, 5 lines, 8 lines to the bottom. V'ashlokos, cooked foods. Menon Emili. How do I know that you're not allowed to eat cooked foods that is cooked by a non-Jew? Omer Reb Chibar Abba Rabbi Yochanan, the Heilige Rabbi Yochanan says, Omer Kro Oichel Bakesef Tashbireni V'ochalta V'chalti Umayim Bakesef Titili V'shasisi. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Melech Sichon that you'll give me some oichel and you give me some water as we pass by. So why is he saying water and oichel in the same sentence? We compare oichel to mayim. Kamayim. Ma mayim shlo nishtanu, af oichel shlo nishtanu. How is he allowed to eat from bishul akum, from food that is cooked or baked by a non-Jew? Must be that it's like mayim. Ma mayim shlo nishtanu, af oichel shlo nishtanu. Now let's stop right a bit for a moment. Before we even get involved in the details. Tosfos asks over here, Rabbeinu Tam wants to know, why is the Mishnah? We just had a whole sugya about pas akum, yayin akum, shemen akum, and nowhere did the Gemara ask menon emili. How do I know it? We understood it's gzeira d'Rabbanan. The Rabbanan were goyzim shem chasnas. All of a sudden comes to shlokos, and here the Gemara introduces menon emili. How do I know? Gemara says, the Omar Kra, nicht mehr gedacht. It's a Da'iraisa. You hear this? Gemara's Havamit over here is, Bishul Akum is a Da'iraisa. So Tosfos wants to know, Omer Rabbeinu Tam. The bottom Tosfos in Lamed Zayin Amud Beis. Tosfos asks, how could it be that this is a kasha of Menon Emili, that it's a Da'iraisa? So the Tosfos says, it must be the Gemara understood that shlokas is not included in all the other gzeiros the Rabbanan made about yayin, about pas, about shemen. It's not included in that at all. It's a gzeira kadmoinasi. It came before all the other gzeiros. Right? The oldest gzeira from pas, shemen, yayin, the whole group is shlokas. So here the Gemara wants to know, wow, it's such an old gzeira. What's the source for this particular gzeira? So it's tricky because shlokas is mentioned in a whole list in the Mishnah, right? It's mentioned together with pas, yayin, shemen. But Tosfos is pointing out from the Gemara we see that shlokas really is a whole different bear. It's a whole different gzeira. And it was an earlier gzeira, nothing to do with Shammai and Hillel. Yutches Dvarim, they were geyser. It's a whole different gzeira. Bishul Akum is its own sugya. And that's what we're going to get involved in tonight. Menon Emili. How do I know that Bishul Akum is also? You can suggest a pasuk. Kamayim, just like water. Just like water, it doesn't change, right? It's kibriyasan. When you drink water, it's in its original form. That's the way water is. That's the way water will be, right? It wasn't nishtana from its original matzav. Af oichel. So to the oichel that Klal Yisrael wanted to buy from Sichon Melech HaMori was also oichel that's lo nishtana, and any oichel that is not nishtana, then it's okay. Vaistois, oichel that's nishtana. What's mishana oichel? Right? What changes food? If you want to change a food, how do you change it? You cook it, right? So once you cook it, it's vaistois, the way Moshe Rabbeinu was going to eat the food of Sichon was only if it's like mayim, which means it was never cooked, it was never changed from its original form. But if it would have been changed, it's not like mayim, there he wouldn't have been allowed to eat it. That's the makar for bishul akum, that it's asur. Asks the Gemara, if a guy takes chitim, right, which is wheat kernels, and he is miyabish it, and he bakes it in a tanner, in an oven, that's called kloyas, right? It used to be like a snack, and they used to eat it. So hachanami dasurin, so you're not allowed to eat wheat kernels that was baked by a non-Jew. Why? Because once you bake it, it's nishtana. So that would be categorized or classified as bishul akum, as a food that's subject to bishul akum. Chitem echanami, v'tanya chitim vasen klois mutarin. It's a brayso that's mutar. So the definition, what defines bishul akum, can't be whether it's nishtana or not. Why? Because you see chitim vasen klois as nishtana, and yet it's mutar. Elo kamayim must be, it's a different definition. Kamayim ma mayim shaloi nishtanu mibriyasan af oichel shaloi nishtanu mibriyasai. It's not stam nishtana. It means it still maintains its original form. So that's why chitin vasen klois is mutter. Why? Because if you take wheat kernels and you bake it in an oven, even though it's dried up, but it's in its original form. So if it's still in its original form, that's okay. So it's not just that you changed it slightly. It has to be you change it from its original form in order for it to be subject to the law of Bishul Akum. Elo Ma'atas, the Gemara says, oh, okay, so let's go a step weiter. Chitin v'tchanan. Let's say you have wheat kernels and you ground it. Hachanami d'asura, now it changed from its original form. Before it was kernels, now it's flour. Chitem hachanami, if you're going to tell me that's also, that's called Bishul Akum, v'tanya chitin basan kloyes, hakmochen baslas shalahen mutarin. Anytime a guy took chitin and he roasted it, or he made it into flour or soilus, fine flour, halacha is that it's mutter, even though a guy did it. It was Nishtana B'Biriyas, and the guy took it and changed its original form. So how can you tell me it's mutter? Elo kamayim, ma mayim, sheloi nishtanu B'Biriyasan, al yedei hu'ur, af oichel sheloi nishtanu B'Biriyas al yedei hu'ur. The definition of Bishul Akum, when is it subject to the law of Bishul Akum? If you take a food, and you don't just change it. You don't just change it from its original form, but you change it, and you change it from its original form through fire. That would be subject to the law of Bishul Akum. Gemara says, Midi Urksiv. Where do you see that? Where do you see activity from fire? It doesn't say it in the pasuk. So how do you know that's how you categorize Bishul? That's how you explain Bishul Akum. It says the Gemara, Lamed Ches. We're just approaching Lamed Ches, top line. Elo midrabanan. You thought it's learned from a pasuk and Bishul Akum is deraisa? Not true. Elo midrabanan. It's a gzeira derabanan. Ukro asmachta ba'alma. The pasuk is only an asmachta, right? What is asmachta? Asmachta means we find a smach. How do you translate smach? You find a support from the Torah. You find a pasuk in the Torah that kind of supports this gzeira d'Rabbanan. What's the gzeira d'Rabbanan? Why would the Rabbanan geyser on Bishul Akum? What's the problem? So Rashi and Top Rashi says, Shelo Yisrael rogel etzle b'meichel v'nishta. We don't want you to hang out with non-Jews. Yeah, when it comes to food. Food matters, no. Why? Because maybe he's going to give you davar tameh. He's going to put something that's tameh in front of you. So that's why Chazal made a gzeira. Don't allow a non-Jew to cook your food. If you allow a non-Jew to cook your food, it might come to give you something that's a davar tameh. Tosfos points out that if you look at Rashi in the Mishnah, Rashi in the Mishnah says a different reason for Bishul Akum. Rashi in the Mishnah says, Bishul Chasnas, like pas, like yayin, which means yayin is also because maybe it was yayin nesach for Avodah Zarah, but there's a reason over there. Chasnas, the Gemara discusses that maybe if you sit and wine and dine with a non-Jew, they're going to, you're going to end up assimilation. That's chasnas. Yeah. So Rashi here says a different reason, and Rashi in the Mishnah says a different reason. Okay, the Chorim are done. Why Rashi says two different reasons? One of the Mishnah is chasnas, and over here in the Gemara talks about shleichalenu davar tameh. But either way, it's a d'Rabbanan. That's for sure. It's a d'Rabbanan. Tosfos brings a sheet in the Rishonim that the whole Bishul Akum is only if it was cooked in the house of a non-Jew. But if the non-Jew cooks in your house, then it would be okay. I guess if it's in your house, you don't have a davar tam in your house. The pantries only has davar tar. Hopefully you only have kosher in your house, so that gzeira is not relevant. Also, chasnas is only if you mamish go into the other guy's house. He invites you. That's a friendly kind of conversation, a socialization, so there we're afraid. But if it's just in the Jew's house, it doesn't apply. That's how Tosfos brings one of these shitas. But Rabbeinu Tam loy hoydaloi. Tosfos says Rabbeinu Tam argued on this shita, and he says it doesn't matter whose house it's in. If a guy cooks food for a Jew, don't eat it. It's subject to the law, to the Isra of Bishul Akum. Yes?
According to Rabbeinu Tam, then, how could you eat like something from a factory?
Oh, great question. We're going to talk about it right now.
And what about today?
Yeah.
Like, what about today? Don't you have when you have simcha or something, most of the
caterer is not
Yidden.
Yeah, they're not Yidden. So how are you allowed to? Oh, okay. Listen. You came to the right daf. Daf is going to talk about this, okay? Because there's a lot of what we call loopholes to this gzeira, to this isser. We're gonna talk about it right now. Omer Shmuel Yitzchak Amar Rav. First loophole. Kol hanechel kamois shehu chai. Any food that you can eat it raw. Im b'mishem bishul akum. If a guy ends up cooking it for you, there's no bishul akum. Bishul akum is if a guy took inedible foods, right? You cannot eat it raw, and then he cooked it for you, and now he made it edible for you. Ooh, you made it edible for me. I couldn't eat it. If I could have eaten it without the guy, I guess there's no cure of adas. In such a case, you're not no chasnus. He didn't do anything for you so major because you could have eaten it without him. But if You couldn't have eaten it raw, and he did you the favor, he cooked it for you. That's a problem. So kalanechel kamoishu chai eba b'shem bishul akim besura masnahachi. That's how they learned in the surah. Hamadisa masnahachi. Hamadisa was a different. They learned it differently. The loophole is differently. Omar Shmuel Yitzchak Rav. They said in the name of Rav differently. Kol she'eino nechel shulchan melochem l'lafer b'sapas eba b'shem bishul akim. It's only a type of food that is oila al shulchan melochem. That Queen Elizabeth, President Trump, right? When you have world leaders, ambassadors come together, they put it on shulchan melochem. It's a type of food that you serve on shulchan melochem, right? Nobody puts out potato chips. Yeah, potato chips not a food that's oil shulchan melochem. Yeah, give me another food that's not oil shulchan melochem.
But Trump served McDonald's at the White
Canned
House.
foods.
Ah, that's a good point. He's saying Trump loves burgers. So is burger.
He's a Yotzman
He's a Yotzman Aklal. Aha.
Canned
Okay.
foods. There's this article in the circle about this. What would Trump eat? About how their diet depends on this halacha.
Wow. There was an article in the Circle about this? Okay, shout out to the Circle. So that's interesting. So we have two different loopholes. One is if it's Nechel Kamois Shulchai, not subject to the Isser of Bishalakim. If it's not Oila al Shulchan Melachim, it's not subject to the laws of Bishalakim. So the Gemara says, "My bainayu." What's the chiluk between these two gersois, these two lashonos? Ikebenayu dogim ktanen va'arde v'daisa. Right, small fish, arde and daisi. These are types of foods that cannot be eaten raw, but they're also not oila al shulchan melachim. They also don't go up on shulchan melachim. So if you hold that the criteria is that it has to be oila shulchan melachim in order to be subject to the law of bishul akum, this is not oila shulchan melachim. If you hold the criteria is that it can't be nachal chai in order to be subject to the bishul akum, this is not nachal chai. So that's it. Lamaisa Toys over here points out, Rabbi Natan points out that we paskin like both lashonos. In other words, if you're missing one of these two criteria, it's no bishul akum. So you need both. You need A, it cannot be eaten raw, and B plus, it has to be oila shulchan melachim in order for the food to be subject to the isser of bishul akum. If you're missing one of them, it's already mutter, no problem. Okay, the Gemara says, Omer Ravasi, Omer Rav, dogim ktanim meluchem ein behem b'shem bishul akum. Small fish that are meluach, that are salted, there's no problem of bishul akum.
Like sardines.
Why? Because like this nechel kamois shechai. Because it's you can eat it the way azivus steht im Geit. Yeah, you don't need to cook it. Okay. Omer Rav Yosef. Im tzilon oivet kechavim.
It's salt and mashal. Is that what it is? It's not that.
Because once you salt it, you can eat it without bishul. Yeah. So not that salt is mavashlet, but because salt
it's
enables you to eat it, so that's why it's considered. That's also included in the category of nechel kamois shulchai. That's what Rav says. Omer Rav Yosef, im tziloon oivet kechavim, soymech Yisrael aleihem. If a guy roasts these fish, then a yid can be soymech on these fish mishnei ruve tafshilin. What's interesting about a ruve tafshilin? We know what's a ruve. Everybody knows what a ruve tafshilin is. A ruve tafshilin is what? When you have Shabbos and Yom Tov back to back, you have Yom Tov and then Shabbos, and you want to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos, right? Is that what it is?
yes.
So then you have to make a ruve tafshilin. What's a ruve tafshilin? You take a cooked item and you take a baked item, right? Take a piece of challah, you take a piece of fish, a piece of shnit, whatever it is, and you put it together. You say that this is your eruv to be able to cook for Shabbos on Yom Tov,
Which you have to eat before the end of Shabbos.
and you have to eat it before the end of Shabbos.
Shabbos, right?
Yes. So here the Rav Yosef says, what if you have fish that was roasted? Is that considered a dover mevushal to use for eruv tafshilin? So he says yes. Soymech Yisrael aleihem mishumei ruve tafshilin. V'avdinan ovid chum kasa daharsina. And if he made from these fish a kasa daharsina, which is I guess a dish they used to eat in the olden days, they used to add some flour and they used to fry it together with the fish. Then it's aser. Why? Because even though the fish is nechel kamois shulchai, doesn't need the bishul, but the flour needs the bishul. So since the flour needs the bishul, so this kasa daharsana is subject to the law of bishul akum, because you cannot eat kasa daharsana without cooking the flour.
It's now a fancier food.
Yeah? Whereas this pshita it's pashut. What do you mean? Once you have to cook the flour, it's not nechal kamei shuchai. So why should, what's the chiddush of Rabbi Yosef? No, maybe you would have thought that the kemach is only a tuffle and the ikr is the harsin of the fish. And since the fish doesn't need bishul, so it's not subject to the law of bishul akum, right? Then kamash malon kimcha ikr. No, once if you need kemach flour and the flour needs bishul, hagam it's only a tuffle. We don't say it's just a tuffle. Whenever you have flour, mezoinus, and you have a shahako, we know it doesn't matter what your das is, whether your das is to make the mezoinus a tuffle or not. Lamaisa, the kemach is always ikr, and since the kemach needs bishul, the halacha is the whole meichel becomes osir, it's subject to the law of bishul akum, because it's not nechel chai kamois shehu. Okay,
So anytime there's a significant amount of flour in a tavshil,
yes,
then it's
in a
subject to-
tafshil that didn't need to be cooked in order to be eaten.
Did
but
not need
Did
to
not need. So the chayra, it should not be subject to the isra bishul akum, because in order to be subject to the isra bishul akum, it has to be that it's not nechel kamois shuchai, and if the tafshil is nechel kamois shuchai, the chayra shouldn't be
No, the
shouldn't be
Indian
subject.
of being
Oyla shulchan malachim.
that's also an issue. Or I mean, is it one or the other, or
Oh,
both?
so
or
we
what
said,
is it?
so la halacha we paskin that in order to be subject to the law of bishul akum, you need both. You need that it's oila shulchan malachim, and
Right.
plus it's not nechel chai kamei shehu.
So in other words, the red and the black licorice
Yes,
that everybody eats.
it's mezoin, it has flour in it.
No, thing is, most people make a shackle on it,
Okay.
but that's not olam shulchan malachim.
Ah, so you want a taina that
I'm
agam?
asking.
It's-
I don't know.
You want a taina very geshmak. You want to say that agam it's not nechel chai kamei shehu because it has flour in it, and we're just learning. Even though the flour is a tuffle l'chayra,
Well,
but
it's
that
not-
would
it
categorize
happens to
the
be
food.
majority of what's in it. Okay, anyway.
But no, the kemach is not the majority either. Here,
Okay.
that's the chiddush.
All right.
Okay, but Twizzlers is not. I know that Reagan loved jelly beans, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, Ronald Reagan.
He had a big jar of them on his desk.
Yeah. So
And Trump's idea of a fancy meal is going to McDonald's.
so this is who said that? Oh, Eitan said that. Yeah.
Why don't you come
He
on?
also likes Diet Coke.
He also likes Diet Coke. So there's a shayla. How do you? Yeah. Who classifies oil shulchan malachim? Who doesn't? Is it like based on the world? Is it based on the president of your your country? Like who's the
Current
one?
What do
all
le-
rules are bypassed now.
What is this?
There are no rules in Malachim these days. They're not respected like they used to.
The presidents are not
Oh, it's a
considered.
double chashuv.
That stopped with Clinton, no? You know that. So would you make shecholak mechvoidoi lebasa v'dam on the president? That's a whole different
No,
conversation.
probably not. No.
Really?
No.
Art scroll says if they have the ability of Chaim Mason in the hands of
They
the
can,
Right.
they can pardon. They can
No,
pardon
but
people on
they
death
can't.
row.
They
So
can't
that's
sentence to somebody to death. That's the nukuda.
They have to be able to sentence somebody to death.
We're getting pretty close. Though.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the
That's
shiur.
right. Yeah, you're right.
So it would be a judge.
A little too close. What?
It would be a judge.
Coffee.
No.
Coffee is either.
So you'd sit on a dictator like King
Huh?
Trump, but you wouldn't sit on Trump.
Coffee. That was the shiur with coffee.
Right.
Coffee is either shulchan malachim.
Oh,
But you can't have it kosher chai.
Correct.
Problem is that you're not cooking the coffee. You're just diluting, not actually cooking the coffee beans.
But you.
It's just you're soaking it through. That's what they
Also,
came out
most
with.
people go to
It's
like,
not-
so if
it's
a
not-
guy makes coffee for you,
Because you're not actually cooking the coffee.
very interesting.
So even though
Yeah,
coffee
Here
is
we're
all-
saying murdig. He's saying,
Yeah, it's-
how's a guy allowed to make coffee for you?
yeah, like Starbucks.
A, it's early because I guess kings do have coffee, right? They have tea time,
generally speaking, yeah.
and it's also not nechel chai.
Right.
So how's
But
it?
it's not considered. I mean, we're not talking
That's
That's a
about.
great conversation.
The CRC.
You know what he's saying? No, it's like geschmack. Is a non-Jew allowed to make a coffee for you?
It's not food.
It's a drink.
The president is messed with all the power.
It's
You're able to have
it's both.
You're able to have coffee beans.
He wants to know how could
You're able
I?
to eat coffee beans.
Huh?
You're able to eat coffee beans.
No, but he.
Yeah.
Rabbi Gold.
Like what?
No, it's both.
You're able to eat coffee beans.
He said it's not coffee.
No, you can't eat. So here, okay. So here's what
You're able to
Moshe's
eat, some people have
Moshe's
coffee
pointing
beans.
out something very interesting. What does it mean? It's nechel k'moshu chai or not nechel k'moshu chai? Yeah.
Right.
Like the Gemara in Shabbos says that raw meat is not muktzah.
Right.
Why? Because it's chazil umtza. Chazil umtza means you can chew it. Right? So therefore, it's not muktzah machmas gufa because it has a shtamshus, right?
You know what steak?
So would you say that is categorized as nachal kamoy shuchai because in Hilchos Shabbos it's not muktzah over here? There would be no bishul akum on that. Obviously, of course there is. Gemara says there's bishul akum on raw stuff, on raw meat.
Do you know what?
So the Goyen proves that nachal al yidei atchak is not enough to call it nachal kamoy shuchai. It has to be nachal comfortably. It's not like if Moshe is saying I could chew on coffee beans. So maybe that's nachal kamoy shuchai. So it's not subject to the law of bishul akum.
Do you know
It's not
what?
so pashut.
Do you know what steak tartare is?
Steak what?
Steak tartare.
No.
It's raw meat that is a delicacy. People eat it.
Oh really?
Caviar?
Caviar.
I mean, I wouldn't eat it, but I'm just saying.
It's a food on the menu. It's
a
an item on the
fancy,
menu.
very fancy food.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I wonder who came up with that. Probably
That's
the
why
guy
it's
at the
called steak
restaurant. He didn't have a chef that day.
No, that's why it's called
And
steak.
he brought it out. He sliced it very thinly. He's like steak tartare.
You know who the tartars? Do you know who the tartars are?
No.
They're an ethnic group in Russia that are basically warriors.
Okay.
These are not nice people.
And they eat it raw.
Yes, that's what got.
Oh my gosh!
That's why that got the name
Wow.
steak tartare.
Mamash with an egg on top.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, because the Gemara
Right?
says only.
You know about it? Ask him about it. Ask him about it. Ask him about it.
It's like it's a delicacy, so if you eat it, you're it's a high level thing.
That's interesting. Wow. All right, so we're talking about
You're able to eat
talking about bishul akum. So the Gemara says that anything that's eaten raw and a good cooks it is not
raw
subject to the law of
eggs,
bishul akum.
like you just crack it open.
People do.
Are you able to-
I would be very difficult to swallow it, but people do it.
Is it for chazan? Like
Okay,
that?
weiter.
Could be, yeah.
Weiter. So Gemara says weiter, right? Here we are. Where are we? We're up to. Gemara says, Omar Rav Bruna Omar Rav. Okay. Interesting halacha in the Isra of Bishul Akum. Middle of this topic of Isra Bishul Akum. And we're up to
What?
Omar Rav Bruna Omar Rav. So
What's
it's
the
like
first word on the right-hand side of that line?
Iker. So it's like 15 lines from the top of Lamed Ches Amud Aleph.
Okay.
Rav Bruna said in the name of Rav, Oiveid kechavim shehitzes hasa'ur ba'agam. A guy that lit a fire in an agam, in a swamp.
Yeah.
Kol chagovim sheba'agam asurin. And now, as he lit the fire, and the fire basically scorches the entire area, and in that area you have grasshoppers, you have crickets, whatever you got over there, and it pretty much roasts all the grasshoppers as it scorches the entire area. So now, put out the fire, and you see a bunch of grasshoppers dead, roasted. Who lit the fire? Who roasted it?
The guy.
The guy. So the halacha is asurin. You're not allowed to eat those grasshoppers, assuming those grasshoppers are
But
tar.
he never, but the
They're
guy
kosher.
never intended to do that.
Oh, let's talk about that. Moshe is a step ahead. Hey Chadami. Gemara says, what's the case? If the reason why it's usher to eat those grasshoppers is because he's not sure whether this is a kosher grasshopper or not, why is the Brisa limiting the case to Navid Kechavim lighting the fire? Even if a Yid lit the fire, you can't eat it. Why? Because you're not sure if the Chagav is kosher or not. So who cares who lit the fire? If that's the reason why it's usher, it shouldn't matter who lit the fire.
Couldn't you tell?
Elo, he doesn't know. Chagavim is a whole different. Chaim Kanevsky wrote a whole sefer, Kuntrus Chagavim. People don't know. You know which grasshopper is kosher or not?
Nope.
Yeah, animals we know. The grasshoppers are unusual.
It probably loses its formula.
Oh, another good svarim to you saying. Once it's roasted, it's hard to tell.
Sunglasses and suntan oil on the grasshopper.
Hello. No. So must be what's the reason why it's usher the brayza mishum bishulei oivdei kechavim? Because they cooked it. Why? Because when they lit a fire and scorched the entire area, so they also cooked their fire that they lit, cooked the grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Gemara says, Ki hagavna mi usher. In such a case, such a scenario, is it really us bishul akum is usher? For Omer Rav Chanan Ba'ami, Omer Reb Pedas, Omer Rab Yochanan, Hai oived kechavim the chorich reisha, a goy, a non-Jew, an oived kechavim that scorches the head of an animal, right? shechts the animal is shechted, I guess a yid shechts or whatever, and then the Oved Kechavim takes the head and basically roasts the head. Why would he do that? Because he wants to remove all the hair.
Right.
So it basically burns off all the hair from
yes.
the head of the animal. So now he doesn't mean to roast it l'shem achila. He just means to roast it because he wants to remove the hair. As Gemara says, Shari lemechel manei. I feel I'm allowed to eat even from the most delicate part of the head, which is the tip of the ear. Alma, why? Eitz b'shalakum. Teretz is la buraser kamachavim. This guy, his intention was only to remove the hair. So once his intention is only to remove the hair, it's not b'chlal the gzeira of b'shalakim. The whole gzeira, the chacham of b'shalakim was when the guy is cooking it for you. He's making it edible for you. But if the intention of the guy was not to make it edible for you, it was only to remove the hair or to just scorch the entire area and stamdu was chagavim, and chagavim got cooked or roasted in the process, b'vadai that it's not going to aser. Tachanami lagluy agma kamachavin. Over here also, why are the grasshoppers aser? He just wants to reveal, uncover the field. Gemara says, the teretz is, no, the emes is, the reason why the Bryce it's aser is because we're talking about a case where he doesn't recognize, he doesn't know whether these grasshoppers are tar or tar. No. It's 2 lines from the top of the wide lines on Chesed Aleph.
Okay.
Where it says, so you can ask me, if he doesn't know it's tar or tar, say, even in Yisrael, it's not like, even if he lived the fire. There it says, no, this story, there are Brunim Shem Rav, that story happened to be with a guy. So he's repeating the story accurately. He's saying that's with a guy, but Avad, even a Yid, the same Allah will be even by Yid. Where it says, Nagufa, Omer of Rabbi Yoel a non-Jew that roasts the head of an animal, a shechted animal, he's allowed to eat even the most delicate part of the head, which is the tip of the ear, softest part. So therefore, what do you learn from this? Another similar case. A parallel case would be with regard to an adcham throwing a moist piece of wood into an oven, right? Now, what does he want to do? He wants to harden the piece of wood, to dry it up. So what happens when you take a moist piece of wood and you throw it into the oven? So
The water evaporates.
Two-step process. First it softens, right, as it takes all the liquid out,
right?
Because it has to move all the liquid right from the inside. Right. So first it softens, and then after all the liquid evaporates, then that's when it becomes hard. So what's the intention of the guy? The intention of the guy was, that he wants to
harden.
He wants to
Dry
out the peg.
Dry the peg. So Gemara says, "V'kaver by Yisrael kara meikara," and before he threw in this piece of wood, this peg, the Yisrael had in the tanur a piece of a vegetable. Let's say a dlas. What's a dlas? How do you translate a dlas? A dlas is a gourd. Yeah, squash.
Okay.
And then this guy lit it with this piece of wood. Shaper dummy, then the glass is muteres b'achila. You're allowed to eat it.
Wait, what?
Why? Because the guy only wanted to be miyabish. He wanted to dry up.
Okay, right, yeah.
It's a similar case. He wanted to just dry up this peg. He didn't want to cook the glass. His intention was to dry it up. So as long as his intention was even though the result is that it got cooked, but that's not the chalal d'gzeira. What's this pshita?
This is just the opposite of the Rabbanim who go for a walk at 3:00 in the morning, stand outside the bakery, light a cigarette, and then throw the match into the oven so that the bread would become pas Yisrael. Right?
Talk about that.
This
Very
is
good.
the opposite. Just
That's
the opposite.
Because their intention is
right. Yes.
Yeah. Very good. We'll talk about that in a moment. But over here, we're still sticking to the guy. The guy's intention is not to cook it. He's roasting the head of the animal because he wants to remove the hair. He is roasting the area because he wants to reveal and uncover the entire area to clean it up. It happens to be that some grasshoppers got cooked. It happens to be that now the ear was cooked. And now it happens to be that this glass was cooked when he threw this peg into the oven to try to get it to dry up. Versus Pshita, why do you have to give me so many parallel cases? I understand. Give me one case and I understand the Gamsa Maisa. Why do you have to give me another case of this guy throwing a peg into the oven if his intention wasn't to cook the glass and it's mutter? I already know it from the previous cases. No, here it could be different. Because I would have thought, Leveshula Monika Mechaven. What he wants to do is, he wants to cook this keli, this peg. Kamash Malan, L'Sherure Monika Mechaven. What does it mean he wants to cook it? He's focused on the first step. First he wants to take out the water, the moist from the peg. So in that stage of the process, that's called bishul. Because what is bishul? The essence of bishul is taking something hard and softening it up. So when you take a peg that's moist, so first it becomes soft because the water comes out, and then it becomes hard. So maybe we would have thought if his intention is for the first step of the process, which means to soften the peg at the stage when the water comes out, that's an oifen of bishul. So the guy's intention is also for bishul in this oven. So maybe I would have thought that's a problem. Kamash malan, and you could assume that the guy throws in a peg into the oven, his intention is to harden it, not to be mavashal it, and that's why if the yid had a glass, a gourd in there, it's okay to eat it. I'm going to read the Mishmuel. What happens if a Jew takes a piece of meat and throws it onto the coals, on the coals, and the guy takes it and flips over the piece of steak, and now it gets cooked, we'll see faster, it's mutter.
Well, the Jew cooked it on one side. The guy flipped it over, it cooked on the second side.
Cooked on the second side, and now it got cooked, it's called shiur of bishul. Without the Jew having done it, now it would have taken longer for the other side to get cooked because it's only on one side.
Yeah.
He flipped it around, now it gets cooked faster. Instead of getting cooked 10 minutes, now in 5 minutes it gets cooked. So what's the halacha? Is that called bishul akum or not? Gemara says, if you're going to tell me in this case, if not for the guy flipping it over, anyways would have cooked pshita. Avad, that's mutter. Why should it be asr? The yid put it onto the coals. I didn't need the guy to touch it. It would have gotten cooked through me. So just because he touched it, should be asr. Pshita, it's mutter. Elolav must be diloy hapich le'ava bashal. If not for the guy, it never would have gotten cooked. My mutter, then why would it be mutter? Right? If the guy didn't intervene, it would never have gotten cooked. Why would the bride say it's mutter? Bishul Chavnin, that's a classic case of bishul akum. If the guy wouldn't have flipped it over, it would have taken 2 hours to cook. And now that the guy flipped it over, now it gets cooked in 1 hour. So the Gemara is teaching, the Bryce is teaching that shiur of bishul is no problem of bishul akum. So in other words, mabish pashat, if the guy goes and turns up the flame of your soup, of something that would have cooked in 5 hours, and because she, the housekeeper, turned it up by a notch, now it cooks in 3 hours and 2 hours, no bishul akum on that, because shiur of bishule, lav milsi is no problem.
It depends on who. The Sephardim would hold that if a guy does any kind of cooking, not only is the food treif, but you got to kasher the kalim, everything like this. No?
We have a Sephardi right here, yeah?
Yeah, forgive me.
You don't even have to turn on the fire for
just put the pot on.
You have to put something, or even stir the food.
Stir the food,
whatever.
and you're good.
You're good, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I sit corrected. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Wow.
So
wow.
You don't have to. You don't have to turn the fire on. We don't have to.
The Sephardim are more makel, right?
Yeah.
That's more of a kula.
Really? So why get the impression that if a guy does any part of the cooking,
that's just an excuse to beat your wife. That's it. I don't know.
All right, that's good to know. So my wife is Syrian, right? So she always tells me, "I married you and made my life harder. I can't eat kidneys on Pesach. I can't have all the coolers that apply to bishul akum. You know what I mean? Like even the 9 days, they keep only shua shachal boy.
Remind her though. Remind her.
But slichot, you say on the slichot.
Yes, the slichot.
The reminder.
They say because they have to do tshuva on all these coolers, so they have to start from.
Remind her though that you can only have one wife.
Okay.
That's it, right.
Okay. Va'omer Rav Asa Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Kol shu kamaychel ben dresoi, ein boy mishim b'shulei oivdei kechavim. Yeah. Anything that's kamaychel ben dresoi, anything that's already cooked a third of the way, there's no isser of bishul oivdei kechavim. Where it says ein kamaychel ben dresoi, but if it's not yet like kamaychel ben dresoi, yes bishul oivdei kechavim, then there is a problem with bishul akum. But that would be a kasha. Why? Even if it's not kamaychel ben dresoi, but if it would have been cooked in 5 hours from now, and the guy was Makar Bishul, he just told me it's not a problem. So who cares at what point of the game the guy contributed?
Wait, so
as long as, that's more kasha, as long as, why do you tell me that the guy can only intervene once it's Michael ben Dresoi by Yid? Even if it's not Michael ben Dresoi by Yid, as long as the guy wouldn't have touched it, it would have eventually gotten cooked. then why should it matter if the guy intervenes before it's Michael Ben Sorry, after Michael Ben Sorry?
Michael Ben Soy is what? A third cooked or
A third,
half cooked?
a third.
A third.
Yes.
So there's something chashuv about a shlish.
Yeah. But who
Yes.
told me this? So you just told me because Ben Sorry was the name of these robbers, right? And they were always on the go. They were always on the go. They didn't have time to cook it completely.
They were probably friendly with the Tartars, but they weren't the same people.
Ah, okay, yeah.
They were buddies. They were,
Yeah. No, you told me that the Tartars, they're bad people, right? They're
rough people.
Rough
They're,
people. Okay.
In Russia.
Okay, Ben Drusai. Modern day Ben Drusai. So the Gemara says, so it's a kasha. Why do we have to be already at the stage of Michael Ben Drusai, even if it's less than Michael Ben Drusai? If it would have been cooked eventually and the guy intervenes, it shouldn't matter. Because anyways would have been cooked. Gemara says, no, over there we're talking about where the Yisrael
Tartars.
it looks like raw meat.
It is raw meat.
Where does tartar sauce come from?
Wow.
Probably from them.
Doesn't even
They're
look
going to
good.
put
Is it good?
something on the meat to make it edible.
You don't know?
But I'm okay. Very good.
You would never touch this, right?
Raw eggs is raw meat.
Right. Okay. Raw eggs and raw meat. That's the whole dish.
Now, did you hear what he said?
You could probably order.
You want to know where tartar sauce comes from?
Is that what it is?
Eggs, because you said bishul contains something part of making it soft.
Eat that right away.
They do a case of soft hard, but you can eat it raw.
Can I see it?
Even though you're not supposed
I
to.
don't make hard eggs.
I don't know.
That's an interesting one.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, generally
Oh
speaking,
boy!
that's
Oh boy!
what it is.
Oh
but
boy!
Is that,
Okay.
is that a solid definition though, or is it? Not?
It's general. It's a general definition. Yeah. It's a general definition. Gemara says, it's a
That
good
was a
point.
good one. I like
Any
it.
other foods that you take it to make it?
I was trying to think, but that's all I mean.
I guess. Interesting. Okay. Hasing in the Azv Silta Shakla Chom Azv Tanura. Over there, we're talking about the reason why it has to be already Michael Ben Drusai is because we're talking about a case where the Yid cooked it and then took it off the fire. Then the guy puts it back on the fire. At that, if it was on the fire the whole time, then even if it's less than Michael Ben Drusai, the guy intervenes, it's not a problem. But if the Yid took it off and the guy puts it back on, then it has to be cooked at least to the level of Michael Ben Drusai in order for it to not to be a problem if the guy puts it on. Tayin Hamahachi. Meniach Yisrael Bosra Gabi Gecholam, a boy become a mahapach boy. It's mutter for a Yid to put basar on coals, and if the guy comes and flips it over, it's not a problem. No problem if the guy intervenes. Again, this is the same halacha. The Brisa just echoes what we just said. Also, sheifeses isha kedera gabakira. Shefeses means put. It's just when it comes to kedera, that's the lashon shefeses. A woman is allowed to put the pot on a kira. A bus of chavim, and a chavim can come magisa and stir it. No problem. Why? As long as the yid started, it would have gotten cooked eventually. Even if the guy intervenes and speeds it up, it's not a problem.
So the Yid putting it on is the maimed.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and the guy
right.
is like
It's the makarev. He's
right,
the makarev
right.
of the bishul. Right. That's not a problem. It's going to say boilu. What happens the
Wait.
other way around? What happens if a niach oivet kechavim, the guy puts it onto the fire? Yeah? The hipech Yisrael mahu. And the Yid flips it. What's the halacha? Amar of Nachman by Yitzchak, kal v'chomer. It's a kal v'chomer. Gemara biyad oivet kechavim mutter. Gemara biyad Yisrael loikoshkin. What do you mean? If you're telling me that the Gemara of the Bishul is by the Goy, it's mutter. So if the Gemara of the Bishul is by a Yid, certainly it should be mutter. Gemara is assuming that the Gemara is always Hakoil Halach Achar Gemara. That's what we say, right? So if the Gemara is Ayidei the Akom, it's not a problem. So certainly if the Gemara is Ayidei Yisrael, it's not a problem. Either way, till from the beginning to the end, it's the Oved Keichavim. Gavaldik. So how many loopholes do we have so far for Bishul Akum? Number one. Yeah? Bishul Akum, number one. It has to be a kind of food that's not Nechal Chai, right? He's making it edible for you. It's not Nechal
It
Chai.
has to be cooked.
It has to be cooked in order for it to be edible.
One second. What about a pickle?
Pickle is Nechal Chai. What do you mean? Cucumber is Nechal Chai.
but basically
You want to say salting? You want about salting?
salting. Yeah. Or
Salting. We're going to get to it in a moment. Very good, Gasha. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So number one, we said
herring something.
Yeah. Very good. That's it's meluach by a goy. Is that like bishul or not?
Right.
But number one, it has to be ein nechel chai. In order for it to be subject to the issa bishul akum, ein nechel chai. It has to be oila shulchan malachim. In order to be subject to the bishul akum, it has to be oila shulchan malachim. And number three, it has to be mitchilosoi va'at soifa. If the Yisrael had any involvement, either the beginning or the end, also not a problem bishul akum.
So sushi goes as omer shulchan malachim, right? The fish is raw. Oh, the rice is cooked. Okay, fine, forget it.
Okay,
Scratch that. Just
no, but is the rice oila shulchan malachim?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
That's which country?
Kim Jong-un has rice.
Depends which country. Depends. Minagamakam probably depends.
Right.
Yeah.
China, Japan, yeah, right.
It's a staple food. China's like it's like.
Oh
bread.
yeah. No, right. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The whole Far East. That's
The whole
Yeah.
Amar Ravina Hilchasa Harifta the Shagar of Kichavim v'Afi Yisrael. Same halachas by pas that if there's a bread that the Oivik Kichavim lit the tanner and the Yisrael put it in. Inami Shagar Yisrael. Shagar means he lit it. V'Afi Kichavim and the guy put it in. Inami Shagar Kichavim v'Afi Kichavim v'Asi Yisrael v'Chas v'Chetuyeh. He even got involved a little bit and flipping the coals. Shaper Domi. It's okay. It's not a problem of pas akum. Dog meliach, your kasha, your shaila. What about salting? If a guy salts fish, herring, right?
Yeah.
Can't eat the raw fish, but
Right.
if you salt it, all
Sardines,
of a sudden,
whatever. Yeah.
So Chizki, Chizki says it's mutter because it's not bishul. The gzeir was exclusively to bishul. Meluach is not bishul. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Meluach is like bishul because that's what makes it edible. Just like bishul makes it edible, so if meluach makes it edible, that has the din of bishul, and it's asa. Dates it sluya. What about roasted egg? Right, roasting. Is that like bishul or not? By kapara shari, it's okay. Why? Because you can eat it.
Raw.
You can eat it raw.
What, an egg? Okay, right. Theoretically,
Rabbi Yochanan also.
some people do.
Why? Because that's not usually the way to eat an egg, right? So that's why he's oiser. Ki oser Rav Dimi Omar Echad dog meliach the Echad beitzit sluya Chizki bakapara shor Rabbi Yochanan. In other words, they both hold that sluya meluach is not subject to the laws of Bishul Akum. Rabbi Yochanan holds no, it's still oser because it makes it from inedible to edible. Okay, Reb Chia. We end with a story. Reb Chia Parvoa Ikla lebeirish galusa. Reb Chia Parvoa, I guess, was invited for a meal. You never want to be invited to these guys, okay? These types of guys. But anyway, he was invited to a meal by the Resh Galusa. Amrulei, they said to him, Beitzat Siluya, a roasted egg, mai. What's the halach? I guess they had housekeepers, non-Jewish housekeepers serving in the kitchen. And I guess she cooked an egg she roasted an egg and brought it to the table. She wanted to know, is a roasted egg subject to the law of
She
Bishul
wanted
Akum?
to know?
They wanted to know.
They wanted to.
The Resh Galusa, yeah. Amr Lehusi said, Chizkiya bakapara sharu. Yeah, these two heilige Amiroim are mater. Rabbi Yochanan asar. Rabbi Yochanan is a asers. Ve'ein dvarav shel echad b'mekoim shnayim. And you cannot uphold an opinion from one Amoira if he's arguing with a rabbin, two Amoiras that are mater, so it's mutter. Amulu Rav Zvid, I guess Rav Zvid was also at the table, who said, no, not so fast. You want to be mater, a beit tzluya? Loi tetzisule. Don't believe him. Hachi Amar Abaye, because Abaye, I have a Messiah, a Kabbalah from Abaye. Hilchasa kavased Rabbi Yochanan. The halach is like Rabbi Yochanan, who says that a roasted egg is also subject to the laws of Bishul Akum and it's aser. Ashkiyuhu negoita dechala. They gave him vinegar, strong vinegar, a cup of strong vinegar for nach nafshe, and they killed him. Why they kill him? Because he paskined that the egg is aser ba'achila. So, which is interesting, yeah, unbelievable. In other words, they said, "Oh, now we can't eat the egg, so we're going to kill you." Yeah. So in other words, they took a Isser Kal, which is, they're upholding the Isser Kal, and as a result, they're so angry because now they have to keep the halacha of Bishul Akum, they can't eat the roasted egg, we're going to kill you. Yeah? And Beni Pshatim with his Gemara, does mean to kill them, they killed them. physically or not. Some Acharim Taka learn, no, it was they actually killed him. And they say that these Resh Galusa people were very, very evil people. They weren't the Resh Galusa.
Why did he deserve to?
What? In such a way? In such a way? You say?
Yeah, by their head. Yeah, in such a way by these people.
Yeah. No, if here it brings in the bottom, Oisam Anshe Beis Resh Galusa Rishoyim Hoyu.
Oh.
They were Rishoyim. They're Mamash Rishoyim.
Okay, so then right
Now,
the Gemara says it. Then
Why didn't they eat
But-
the egg then?
Yeah, why did they eat the egg then? That's where the guys are like, eat the egg. You're a Russia, eat the egg. What do you? So this is what it is. It's like Shlomo Zalman. They tell a story that Shlomo Zalman was once walking on the street, and he saw a father and a son walking, and the father is schlepping like chairs, like a bunch of chairs, to try to get it from one place to the next, and the son is not doing anything. So he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "No, I'm machmer for the eruv." He said, "Machmer for the eruv." Like you're letting your father schlep the stuff. In other words, we're also guilty of this is this is a big Gemara. We're also guilty of being machmer on the little things and letting the things pass up. Okay, Mr. We'll continue tomorrow.